So hi, Richard.
Hello, it's wonderful to be back in Berlin.
We're at Superbooth. We made it! Woo!
We did make it. It's close. Well, most of us made it, but we're here.
You had some trouble with your luggage, right?
We had some trouble with the luggage. We still have some stuff on the way, but hopefully it'll be here later today. Hasn't stopped us from having any fun, though.
Brilliant. And you have got at least one new thing to show us, right?
We do. I'm here with Cre8audio showing the new East Beast.
And this was announced kind of yesterday, right? Or a couple of days ago?
On Tuesday. It's East Coast style, analog mono-synth. Really sort of celebrating everything we love about that big East Coast sound. We've taken the core sound that we did with the Captain Big O oscillator, that big beefy analog oscillator, and we've given it some friends to play with here. We have a Pittsburgh filter. This is the filter that Michael and I have been working on for 10 years, sort of sculpting and shaping it to really have no dead spots. So the idea is that you can then totally sweep the filter. It's just going to sound nice and creamy. The whole range. Really a wonderful, thick, buttery sound to it. Paired with an analog envelope. This is the same envelope circuit that we used for many, many years in the Pittsburgh Modular SV1. And we just thought, well, I love this envelope. It's a circuit that we developed, oh boy, this is 10 years ago now. Have I been doing it that long? And it's a perfect fit for this. Nice and quick and snappy. Also be long and expressive as well. And we paired that with the same VCA that, again, the circuit that we've tweaked and refined over the years from the SV1. Added a little analog LFO in here and a complete patch bay. So it's semi-modular in the sense that it is behind one panel, but you have all the inputs and outputs for each of the modules. So if you want to use just the oscillator, you want to use just the filter, you want to use just the envelope in a Eurorack setup, you can certainly do that. The panel comes off and you can put it in a Eurorack case if you would like to, but it's perfectly happy to live in its little enclosure here. Fully powered and ready to go.
So just going back to the LFO, what shapes have we got?
And this one, it's a triangle, analog triangle LFO. And that's normal to the FM of the oscillator. So it's staying there. So you do have two ranges, though. We have this is the slow range for your really slow LFO modulation, and we can change that to audio rate. Rate modulation with it as well. I have a patch cable going in from the LFO output, into the modulation with input of the oscillator, so we can do pulse width modulation. We'll change our wave.
That'll make Nick happy.
Slow that down. Sweepy pulse width. And then if you don't have a patch cable in here, you have manual control of the width. So you can manually sweep it.
So obviously from looking at the panel, I can see you've got a little push button keyboard at the bottom. Mm-hmm. What else is kind of going on in terms of, like, is there a sequencer or arpeggiator, or what have we got in there?
It's kind of a little bit of both, actually. it is a touch keyboard. You can see that it's a 1-octave keyboard, and then you have an octave down, octave up, so you can get quite a bit of range out of it. But it does have a sequencer / arpeggiator built in, and they're sort of together in one. It's one group of notes. So if I turn it on here, and then I can tap something in, it's running like a sequencer. We can just keep adding notes to it. And we can switch to, we'll just let that run for a second, and then we can switch to arpeggiator mode. And now, you press and hold, and it'll act like an arpeggiator. So if we come up with the killer arpeggiation, if this is our favorite arpeggiation here, but we want to add one more note to it, we could simply switch back to sequencer mode and start adding notes. So the active sequence can either be used as a sequencer or an arpeggiator. You can then save the sequencer arpeggiation. You can save up to 13 of those and recall them. And that's, they do save when you shut it off and turn it back on.
So how many save points is there? Is it just kind of just the one, or?
Is 13 save points. Yeah, so you can create sequences up to 64 steps and then save up to 13 of those. And you can you can add rests to them as well. So they can be relatively complex. You can play them in using the touch button keyboard here, or with an external MIDI keyboard. This does have a MIDI to CV converter built in, which you could use, to control this oscillator and this analog voice, or you could use it to control any other Eurorack analog equipment. There's a lot of sort of randomization going on in here as well, so we can create a random sequence, generate a sequence, and we can generate one now. So this one is there's a chance of rest, and there's also a chance every time a note plays that the note will change. So this one's going to slowly evolve over time, and you can turn that on or off as well. If you find one you really like, you can just go in and tell it, you know what, let's stick with this now. And it'll keep this sequence going on. And then you could save it, generate something else. You can also randomize the oscillator waveform per note. And you can randomize even the filter cutoff, or the filter waveform.
Can you add like randomization to a set sequence? So if you've got a sequence that you like, could you then like switch to generate and then generate more notes on top of that, or is it?
It's going to generate when you turn on the randomization, it generates a sequence from there.
Okay.
But you can turn on the waveform randomization and the filter slope randomization. So as you can see, let me turn all these off here. We have in the filter low pass, band pass, and high pass available, and we can cycle through them. You can choose one, or like this one's low and band pass together, low and high together. So you essentially have a notch filter, and then high and band, and back to low. And the same, the oscillator, we have all the geometric shapes you would expect. This is our square wave. We have sine wave, triangle, saw, square, but then you can have combos. So this is sine and saw, sine and pulse, saw and pulse. And then we have a mode that very quickly switches from wave to wave, and it creates a pitch noise effect.
So I'm just looking at the panel as we do this, and it looks like you've got kind of two function buttons essentially, right? And then the green functions and the blue functions on the buttons. Is that right?
That's exactly what it is. It's just that simple. If you don't use the function buttons, then this acts as your keyboard. And if you hold one of the function buttons down and tap it, it's going to do either the blue function or the green function.
Brilliant. So, is it kind of available now? Are you hoping to ship soon? What's the kind of roadmap for this?
It's available for pre-order now, and we hope to be shipping in a few weeks.
And do you have a price point on that?
The price point is $249 US.
Richard, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.